Come on, we got to take a little chunk of time out of this bad boy, but no, we're good. No. Oh, yeah, we're really going. Okay. And we are live. Welcome to NBA Live Before Lock. It is Wednesday, May 8th. I am Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Eric Lindquist, and we are brought to you by Sleeper. We only have one game to talk about. Pacers, Knicks, Game 2. It should be 1-0 Pacers, but the referees didn't allow it because the NBA is rigged. I hope you guys got your scripts for today. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. What's good, man? I think we had our finger on the pulse yesterday pretty well. The Luka fade worked for me. The Daniel Gafford lightness didn't work out as much. He looked a little bit better, had a little bit more playing time. He's the new Joval.
That's exactly. I sent you Joval 2.0. I don't know any other way to describe it. He wasn't very good, but just smashed. And it was good for me for DFS for the most part. I ended up a little bit of money, mainly because I was about at the field. I was just a little tiny bit over on him in DFS, but really bad in terms of taking some unders on him there across the board. I thought it would end up being a little bit of lively, but Jason Kidd, apparently he doesn't know ball as much as we thought he did.
I will say this. He has been a fantastic rim protector. Those stats have looked good for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's probably going to see a lot of that same sort of Joval stuff that we saw in that previous series, but has the ability to stay out there a little bit longer defensively. I was hoping it would just become a lively day, and that didn't work out. It ended up being a Gafford day. But now we're going to talk about Pacers and Knicks. And honestly, as weird as this sounds, this is as easy as it is to talk about anything. Like, we only have one real weird decision point, and it's how much does Precious Achiuwa play today. Otherwise, I think this one is as cut and dry as slates get in terms of changes that we think teams are making. Like, I don't really anticipate much going on from the Pacers. The Knicks really just don't have the ability to make changes. It's a very different slate than what we've had previously.
Very different slate than we've had previously. Also, I will say that there's not as much like recency bias that we can take advantage of here. It's not like I'm not going to play Brunson on a showdown, Josh Hart. I think Halliburton's probably the one that I'm the most interested to see where the ownership actually lands on, because there's no doubt that 6 shot attempts and just kind of, I wouldn't even say like laissez-faire. He just isn't right whatsoever, but like 6 shot attempts coming off of that one. I know that Greg Ehrenberg put into the Discord that, he's on some alternate numbers. It's like plus 700 for 25 plus points there. I think that where that ownership lands on him, specifically for like captain especially, is there a ceiling still left with Tyrese Halliburton? I think that for me is kind of the main thing I've been toying with here in my lineups.
Nikola Jokic has officially been named the league's MVP.
Makes sense.
He joins Kareem, Russell, Wilt, LeBron, Bird, and Magic as the only players to have ever won it 3 times in a 4-year span.
That is wild.
Would have been even wilder if he ran it 4 for 4.
Should have probably, but I mean, I don't hate it as much in hindsight now. At the time I was very, very against it because I had a lot of Jokic tickets. But it is what it is. I thought it was closer, 2 years ago, and obviously the Embiid injury this season. Embiid was on track after a month and a half. There's no doubt though that Jokic should have been winning MVP. I'm glad that there aren't, I'm sure we're going to find out some voter that's an idiot that wants to just make a point like we've seen from time to time. But there's no doubt.
You mean Domantas Sabonis getting a defensive player of the year vote?
So egregious to the point where it's like, what are we even doing here? Like,
insane.
There's certain awards that I got to think that sometimes people just do stuff for reactions like that. It's like the voters with the Hall of Fame, where it's like, you're going to be the one person to make them not a unanimous selection. Like, that's absurd. Stuff like that just bugs me to no end.
Well, let's see what bugs you about today's slate. Let's talk captains for today. And that is going to be the guy that's pulling the most ownership right now. Let's talk about the guy that's leading the charge. How do you feel about Jalen Brunson at the captain spot, who is the premier captain option?
I don't know how he's not. I mean, there's eternal amount of usage. I mean, eternal amount of opportunity. He's got a 50.5 PRA prop across the entire industry. I mean, what else are you supposed to say? I mean, he makes the most sense in terms of just pure projection. I've got him 14 points higher than I have Josh Hart. It is an absurd differential between him and everybody else. And with the 2K floor now raised a little bit here, I think the chances of running into a ton of duplication on this slate purely because of Jalen Brunson's existence and what he's been doing for this Knicks team, it's pretty undeniable. So I have no problem with it. How about you?
None at all. Pacers, Halliburton, Nembhard, Neesmith, Siakam, and Turner.
Cool.
No, I have no. He looks incredible. He drives the entire Knicks team. If he's not viable in that spot, I don't think the Knicks win the game. It's going to take some sort of crazy shooting out of someone like Dante DiVincenzo for Jalen Brunson to really have a light game. He has to create everything. He's got a really nice matchup. If they're trying to put Andrew Nembhard on him, he's very clearly not big enough for it. So that's going to become probably more Neesmith after that. They're kind of just out of dudes. I don't see how you get away from Jalen Brunson. 83% owned on the slate, 33% at the captain, 50 at utility. He's the easiest best play today.
Yep. And that's what I'm getting at. Like, if you want to build out one lineup and you're just trying to enjoy the game and you want to just make a stand that something happens to Brunson or that he has a atrocious shooting day, which, you know, just from a volume perspective, that's the biggest problem I have is like you go through matchup. It was not a good matchup last series, but you saw it 27, 32, 34, 27. He's getting to the line, 14 times last time out in this game one, 16 against Philly in that game 6 closeout spot, 44 minutes back-to-back games. So it doesn't matter if it's game 6, game 1, doesn't matter. At this point in time, Jalen Brunson's going to play 43, 44 minutes. He'll get like a breather if he absolutely needs it for Miles McBride to come in for 2 seconds. But I don't know how you get away from just playing a ton of him. It's just not even really a talking point.
We are on the exact same page here. Who stands out to you otherwise at captain? We have 16% ownership going to Josh Hart, 14 to Isaiah Hartenstein, and then everybody else is in single digits. I have a single digit guy that I like a lot.
Oh, I'll let you lead it off then. I don't necessarily have that.
I think Dante DiVincenzo looks exceptional today.
Yes, he does. I love it.
I don't think that he's going to get himself played off the floor for defensive problems in this series. I don't think we're going to have that issue because I think that he can right now hang with Tyrese Halliburton. If he can do that, his offense is going to carry him. And we've seen 2 straight games out of Deuce McBride that have not gone well. I assume he'll be fantastic now that I won't have nearly as much as I did before. I expect Dante DiVincenzo to play 40 minutes today, potentially even more. We saw him play 48 in that game 6. Like, he has that ability in him. 40 seems pretty natural given what we've seen over the past 2 games, 48 and then 43 and a half. 40 minutes of Dante DiVincenzo today. To me, he's getting slept on. I think that he could just rain threes.
Yeah, 8.1% captain ownership. I think that's just fine there going his direction. I guess it goes back to me. I guess if I have to throw somebody out there, it's Tyrese Halliburton, but he's so low owned at captain that I don't think it's like a quote unquote risk to be firing him up by any means. Like, you're going to get leverage more than likely if he just flips the switch. And we've seen that a couple of times. That's what's so weird about tracking Tyrese Halliburton throughout these playoffs. We saw that 46-minute, nearly 60 ball he had. It's just, it feels really, really off. And now TJ McConnell is like carving out a role for himself in a way that I don't think you or I expected throughout the entire postseason, where it's like they kind of need him on the floor from an offensive perspective if he's going to be this efficient. Like, he still can't knock down corner threes. He still doesn't help with spacing, but like, he's getting to the rim. He's getting efficient shots. And, there's at least guys that they can put him in the corner and just kind of like let him sit there to a certain extent, run around with DiVincenzo a little bit. But TJ McConnell, I think that's kind of an annoying piece of this slate as well for me. Is just like, I would love to fade him. I don't really think I can in this spot, but I think the path for me to maybe run into some leverage, a 4.7% captain ownership on Tyrese Halliburton is no doubt ridiculous.
I did a bit of a mea culpa on TJ McConnell this morning on the strategy show. I didn't realize how much better he's gotten over the past 18 months. 1.2 offensive Darko plus minus. That's like a talent rating. That's not just like a this is what he was this year type thing. I think I overrated how little he could be out there from three. I really do think that it's not helping him that Halliburton can't just go out there and play 40 minutes. I definitely don't think that they want both of those guys out there at the same time for major minutes. And that's why I think you're seeing TJ kind of be capped in that like 22-minute range. But I think I've been underrepresenting how good he is offensively. I don't necessarily mean like I wouldn't change anything about the way that I've had him projected. It's not like a rates thing, just like the way that I look at him in my mind. He's become a different player than he was. So sorry, TJ McConnell.
Well, what I find interesting is like back-to-back years of being north of a 40% three-point shooter, but then you go to the looks and like the specific looks he's getting himself. You look at like the attempts per 75 and everything else over on dunks and threes, and like 1.2 attempts per game. Like he just doesn't shoot them because if they're not like the best looks, they really don't want him attempting them. On the season, 57 total three-pointers. So a little bit of like a misnomer. Somebody tried to come at me with like, oh, TJ McConnell's a 41% three-point shooter. I'm like, yes, but you obviously don't watch basketball, so that's cool to know. But
the attempt rate matters more there.
That's what I'm saying. The attempt rate matters more just in terms of like, if you were to have TJ McConnell be required to be a three-point shooter, like if you were to ask him to be that guy, I mean, he couldn't even get the spatial awareness. I don't know if you saw that. I think it was in the second quarter. We were watching it together, but did you see where he had to kind of like maneuver his feet and he still stepped on the line to make it a two-pointer from like 22 feet in the corner? I was like, he has no idea what he's doing in the corner because that's not his role on this team.
2019, 2020, he was taking about 4 shots per 100 at the rim. That's up to like north of 6 now. He's getting downhill a lot better, and he's willing to just take people off the dribble. And it seems to be working. And boy, oh boy, is he energy when he's out there. People need to change up what they're doing because all of a sudden he's just going to get a couple quick buckets. We'll talk about him in a little bit when we talk about flex plays, because I don't think that he's really in much of a discussion at the captain. I don't think that like the salary savings is as necessary. The only 2 guys that I have volume at captain are Brunson and DiVincenzo right now.
Yep. So it's Brunson. I'm going to play some Halliburton. I think
okay.
The more that I
get it,
refreshing it, I'm going to do a little bit. If I saw Tyrese Halliburton at 4% or 5%, like we have projected here now, I feel like I won if I just fire that up a little bit. So, yeah, I got to do it. I
think it's fair. Anybody you want to take a flyer on?
Not really. I don't think this is the slate for it. I'd rather try to run into some of these dupe trains with a dupe train myself. Like I don't know how to get different. Like Miles Turner, we've seen the kind of upside. It's your boy. I don't love it. I guess Hartenstein probably, but he's already pulling 15% captain ownership, and that seems a little aggressive for me. I know that we kind of expect a lot of those minutes to go up, and then we'll have the Precious conversation, which really only applies to the utility. But I understand why he's getting that ownership. I just don't like it. I would rather add to my Brunson Hart shares than try to force Hartenstein as like the $6,200 piece where I'm running into a lot of the same lineups. Like there's easier ways for me to get different, I think, with Hart than there is with Hartenstein.
Who's the white of the night? TJ McConnell or Dante DiVincenzo?
Dante DiVincenzo for sure. I bet his 25 plus points as well. He's going to be out there for 40 plus minutes, pretty sure now. Like after that first series where there were some defensive issues, that doesn't exist when you have Nembhard. That doesn't exist when you have Bencher. That was something we talked about leading into it. I took an underweight stance because he was already pulling ownership as though that was just expected. But now that we saw it, and then a lot of the books, they did adjust it a little bit, but I thought 20 plus with 3 threes, 25 with 4 threes. I thought there were a lot of ways to build some fun single game parlay stuff. So I am very much in the Dante DiVincenzo camp, but not saying that I'm not playing TJ McConnell in utility because I think he's a pretty necessary piece there.
Guys, Sleeper is the sponsor of this show. You can see it on the banner at the top of the screen. You can see it behind Eric's head. They have a deposit match bonus up to $500. Take advantage, guys. Find as many coins as you can in your couch, piece that all together, and put that deposit in because they're going to match it. If you have $137, they'll give you $137. If you have $381, they'll match with $381. That deposit bonus is going to be the best thing you could find. They've got dynamic payouts on their card, so you can get up to 100x. An Odd Shopper can save the day here for you. We have a Sleeper optimizer. It'll just find all of the best plays, piece them together, build the card out for you, and let it rip on Sleeper. Play through that bonus. If you find out you love it and you have more money, great. Stick around. If you don't, you've doubled your money right out of the gate just by having that deposit bonus. I don't even know what word I just said. It doesn't matter. Sign up at Sleeper. The link is in chat or in the description. We're going to circle back all the way up to the top. Darren Unger, favorite FanDuel plays. Okay. I will say, I know I hate FanDuel a lot. I hate it way more for single game slates. It is a terrible product.
It is not an enjoyable experience, I can tell you that much. Jalen Brunson, he seems like a pretty good MVP candidate.
Yeah. He sure
what
does.
Else?
I'm pulling up the FanDuel ownership right now so I can get an idea.
If you made me go to somebody else just for like the steal, Josh Hart, obviously he's the second highest projected guy over on FanDuel here as well. But if it's not Brunson or Hart, you know, the same conversation we just had about Halliburton, I think can apply here, where maybe things are okay. Maybe he just goes and turns the switch on. And even if it doesn't go well, which is, you know, seemingly like the larger percentage outcome here at this point in time, there's at least that upside that we've actually even seen this postseason. We've seen it at times, even if over the last couple of months, it hasn't been ideal. I don't think this is a great spot for Pascal Siakam at 14-5. This is just a terrible, terrible matchup in pretty much every single way, shape, and form. I think Isaiah Hartenstein might actually be like the guy you might want to move up into one of those top two spots purely because the block upside, the defensive upside, what he can do on that side of the floor. If he ends up bypassing a Josh Hart, you might be in a really, really good spot.
I kind of like Dante DiVincenzo in the star spot at 6% owned. That could be an interesting way to get different, because he's the type of guy that can just, like, if you get the Dante DiVincenzo game right, it's because he just made like 7 or 8 threes in a playoff game and really just goes crazy. So if he's only 6% in the star, that feels like a way to get more unique, especially if you have like, because Brunson can probably just get there from volume, assists, even setting up DiVincenzo. Sneaking into a DiVincenzo star lineup is kind of a sneak option for me. And then at the pro spot, Siakam's probably a little too expensive there. So is Brunson. I mean, Josh Hart in the pro spot, but then you're running Nick for all of the multipliers. That kind of scares me a bit.
Yeah, it does, but it also, I mean, you could do those onslaught type builds where Knicks win by 20. Obviously, that's I don't think a very awesome outcome, especially because the Knicks play a style of basketball that they're not going to outscore you by 25, 30 in a lot of ways. They'll play more competitive games because of how slow paced they are, but you know, that's just kind of what they do. I still would be looking at probably 2 Pacers just with the salary. I mean, if you went Nick, Brunson, Nick, I think Hartenstein's probably the guy I'd move up a little bit more. You see a lot of hand builders too over on FanDuel more than you do on DK at times, where there's always, I'll play Showdown for football over there because, you know, there's just opportunities to get a kicker to move up into one of those couple of spots that can really move it up in a low scoring game. But I am more on board with just having Pascal Siakam or Halliburton up there, just because they're the ones that I project the most from the Indy side, and you have the salary to spend.
Who are your favorite flex plays on DraftKings tonight? We're already at 7:49, so we got about 10 and a half minutes. Half hours move fast, man.
Okay. Yeah, time flies when you're not having as much fun as you could doing something else. But anyway, love you very much. That's what I'm saying. You're so fun. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, who are my favorite flex guys? I have tons of them. Brought them up before. I mean, I haven't had like a mea culpa, or I haven't really like come to Jesus when it comes to TJ McConnell. I'm still mad at short white exotic dudes right now because I played like no. I guess it didn't burn me as much yesterday. I ended up money, but Peyton Pritchard under, TJ McConnell under the first go arounds here. I'll be at or above here on TJ McConnell as I finish out. I'm playing 20 lineups, just kind of playing it pretty easy today.
Same.
Playing the $4 and just moving on with my life. But Jalen Brunson. I was going to say Jalen Brunson, because of how popular he's going to be. I mean, obviously he's going to be in like all of my flex spots that he's not the captain in. And I don't think I'm going to get like any leverage going that direction unless we just get to the flip and he is way higher owned, which wouldn't completely shock me, I suppose. But I really like Aaron Nesmith in this spot too. He's 5K.
Number one guy for me.
Yeah, he's the guy that I think I'm the most confident that we could see a different situation. And like, you look at what happened in game one, you look at like, how did the minutes come to fruition, or how did things go against this person? Neesmith ended up in that weird foul trouble. He only played 31 minutes, but I got to think that they don't want 22 minutes in TJ McConnell just as a given, that they don't want 18 minutes for Ben Shepherd, which, by the way, he was a plus 13 for whatever it's worth. But the bench played pretty irrationally good, I would say, in that first game. And it's really disappointing they didn't sneak that game in, because it might make this series a little bit shorter. But Aaron Neesmith, I took him up from the 31 minutes he had in game one, put him up around 35. And as such, he is going to be in pretty much every lineup that I make.
You basically explained it exactly the way that I see it. You know, he lost like 4.5 minutes to Ben Shepherd in the second quarter when he picked up that third foul. Nemhard had one as well, a third foul as well. So they were in a situation where those guys weren't going to be out there. Now, I do think Neesmith is going to be taking largely the toughest matchup on the slate. So he's going to be getting Jalen Brunson, who looks for fouls as much as James Harden and Trae Young do, and gets them. He's certainly live for that foul trouble again, but my expectation is he's playing 36 plus, and I think he's getting underrepresented for that.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad we're on board. Excited to, just 80 in and 0 out. That'll be fun.
Malcolm hit us with the super chat. Should I leave money on the table? You can. It's a quicker way to get more unique. That's for sure.
Yep.
It's showdown. Like when it comes to showdown salary, like you could leave a lot, generally speaking.
The Sims tool is going to be smarter than me. And so as such, I've kind of made my manual tweaks in the data hub, and then I'm going to run it. And it's going to be a pretty straightforward process. It's the same thing that you're able to do over there. And that's what makes the Sims tool so great, is that, we have this amazing data here. We're able to input it. We're able to throw our projections, ownership, and player together. They are able to think through the slate a little bit better. And for me, I will filter out a lot of those 50K type lineups. Like, that ends up being the top simmed ROI lineup I have here. Isaiah Jackson is in it, so spoiler alert on that. But it's just basically all the bigs from the indie side. I think I'm going to be filtering out certain ones like that, because you just run into that type of duplication. I know that in NFL, that's something that I try to do quite often. In NBA, though, you do have to kind of embrace a little bit of the dupe train. It's really, really tough sledding to try to get unique to an extreme extent in NBA.
I just uploaded, or I am in the process of uploading my package of lineups for today. We got about 6 minutes to go. So I'm just going to shout out some of my exposures. 40% of Brunson at the captain, 30% of DiVincenzo at the captain, 10% of Neesmith at the captain. Everybody else is at best in 1. DiVincenzo, Neesmith, Brunson, and Pascal Siakam are my 4 most exposed flex options. So let's get to the final thing that we could talk about here. What's your expectation for Precious Achiuwa?
That he will be in 20% of my lineups only, and 20% only because I think he'll be probably higher owned than he should be in a lot of scenarios. Like, he played 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Mitchell Robinson played 12. And there's a lot of ways you could look at it where it's like, oh, Precious is now going to play 12 more minutes. I think it's more likely that Hartenstein plays 40 and that you run into like 8 for Precious. I don't know the answer. I think trying to understand what goes on. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were done.
No, I was just saying that trying to understand what Thibodeau's going to do here. I think the first instinct you have to have is just give more minutes to the starter that he likes more, and then figure out who could maybe benefit. And if they're sneaky, awesome. There's just nothing sneaky about getting to Precious Achiuwa today. Whereas, if you had tried to do a game one and he showed up on the floor, period, I feel like you won in that kind of a situation. But now we kind of all expect him to be playing here, and he doesn't have to play more than 8 minutes.
No, they have a couple different options, especially against Indiana. He basically has to play, or Jericho Sims has to play. One of those dudes has to be out there. You're not playing Isaiah Hartenstein for 48 minutes. That's not going to be feasible. So I think Precious has a wide range of minutes, depending on how he's playing, depending on how Hartenstein's playing, Hartenstein's health, his foul trouble, whether or not they play Jericho Sims or rotation, if they just want to get an idea if they have another potential backup big. And against the Pacers, they are very live to go to an OG and an OB at the 5 type set and just go no center for a stretch of a couple minutes. I think they would take that chance if they were looking for a little bit of additional offense. So I'm trying to be realistic about Precious. But at the same time, I think the price looks good. I'm right around the field. I don't want to take much of a stand either direction because he is also live to play 20 minutes today. If they want to find out that they can go to a more switchable set, if anything happens to Isaiah Hartenstein. So there are his minutes range is wide today, but something in that like 12, 14 range probably feels the best. And at that point in time, I think that value works.
Yeah, sometimes people don't want to embrace like the range of outcomes idea of it. They want absolutes from us. I don't know. You don't know. We don't know what is going to show up with it. And that's where, you know, the people who play DFS and try to be right look at it one way. And then the other people who are like, where is the field wrong? That's the way that I look at it. I think it's more likely that we don't know. And it seems as though he's going to be like somebody who shows up in too many lineups relative to his chances of success here.
Chris Williams hit us with 5 gifted subs. Love seeing that. I almost feel like he did it before that too. He did twice hit us with the 5 gifted subs. Love to see it. Thank you very much for that one. Buddy. We have 3 minutes to go before we are live on Playback. Playback.tv/Stokastic. We're watching the first half of this Pacers-Knicks game. And you guys get Greg Ehrenberg back. He is going to be here and back on Playback. So Greg and I can... Well, Greg could rub the Minnesota Timberwolves in my face because I've been telling him they ain't winning shit for weeks, and it is looking more and more like I am eating all of the crow.
It's okay by me.
Is crow any good?
How the fuck would I know that? Just because I'm from South Dakota?
Jordan, is crow any good?
You would know.
That's gotta be racist, right? That's gotta.
No, it's not. No, it's literally.
I'm asking the 2
Game
people that are on the show right now. What do you want me to do, man? I'm out of people. It's not my fault. I can't control that.
Ask me first, Jordan.
If Mike were producing, I would have asked the same question to Mike.
What an absolute.
Has anybody eaten any crow as street meat? Anybody? If anybody eats crow, it's probably Gajeski. He's in chat. It's probably like incredibly lean, like tuna. That's all I eat, man. 4 Locos, tuna cans, and crow meat.
My Lord Almighty. Lord have mercy.
It's a scavenger. You don't eat crow. Aren't all animals sort of scavengers? I think they're pretty just happy with eating whenever they can eat now.
Yeah, sounds about right.
It can't be that good of a bird. But like, nobody thinks when you say, do we want to go down this road before we finish this off?
Sure. Why not? Sure.
So like, how bad could it really be? So nobody out there is like, I would love to eat a pigeon, right?
No.
No one says that. But squab is a delicacy. That's a pigeon. What is the fancy word that we call crow that makes it more edible? That's what I want to know. Maybe we can figure that out on Playback tonight. I'll ask Greg. Certainly he doesn't eat that stuff. I would imagine he's not eating crow. He can't even eat real pizza.
Call him out.
Vegan. Man. If he finds like a knockoff crow, though, he's going to be set. All birds are good with hot sauce. That's what I'm saying. Crow? Can you get like crow wings? Is that the new delicacy?
I don't think that's a thing, actually. Just throwing it out there.
Look, we're going to have discussions about whether or not crows are edible on showdown slates. That's just where we're at. You got anything else you want to add? Because we lock in 15 seconds. And now we're
absolutely not. No, I ended up firing up one last little run to be able to throw in a tiny bit of Tyrese Halliburton. I got him in 2 of my 20. So there you go. Should be a fun game to watch. I'm more excited from a betting perspective, from pretty much a viewing perspective. So if you guys want to jump over to Playback, I know you guys are talking about betting about DFS ad nauseum over there. So go hang out, go check out Playback. We would really appreciate that, and hit your like button on the way out.
Now, Russell Crowe, I'd eat that. Hit that like button on your way out the door, everybody. Good luck tonight. Pacers, Knicks, Game 2, playback.tv/Stokastic right now.